Howdy, everybody. Just shutting some other stuff off so I don't get any sort of echoes or anything. All right, I might have to put my speakers on depending on headphones on, whatever. You what? Are you coming over here? Yeah. Just gonna show you a shirt. When did you get that one?
Oh, my parents today.
Oh, pretty cool.
Christmas. So she gave it all in different because she forgot to do it.
Hmm.
It's just me.
Feels pretty good with the red light.
Oh, did you know the black number one is history sarcasm, like love letter?
Yeah.
So, oh.
When I actually went to we did one of those Ragnar races where you run with a bunch of people. In our van was somebody that was best friends with Peter Skilpin before he died.
We use a, yeah.
Are we good, man? All right. Charlie, what is happening? There we go, dude. Holy crap. So you got a lot of tattoos there too, Richard.
Oh yeah, actually, yeah, I got quite a bit of ink. I'm still working on it.
Oh yeah, I am too. I'm 51 years old, still getting tattooed, you know. I love it.
Yeah, it's actually yeah, I think you either get one and regret it, or you get one and go, oh man, I got to get another one.
I had a lot that I did regret, and I actually had a full sleeve cover up.
That's
And-
that's what all this is right here, actually. Yeah,
Right. Yeah, it's brutal because they've got to go so much harder to get that ink in there over that other stuff, and mine was in there pretty heavy. Yeah,
yeah, and taking their time to get the details right, so you know that the new tattoo kind of blends with the lines of the old tattoo. And but
Yeah.
so yeah, shout out to Jen Mastaler of Octopi Ink in Washington, who did this cover up. And then
There's a lot of color there. It looks good. There's a lot of
yeah,
color.
I got another good friend, Sean Cochran, who's at Sunday Morning Tattoo. He's out here in Oregon, and
Okay.
I lucked out because he actually was a coworker of mine and was already a graphic artist.
Okay.
That's not what I do. I'm in healthcare. I'm an X-ray tech, but he decided to go to tattoo school, and he sent out a notice and said, I need some brave school to practice on. And so he was a good artist and I trusted him. So yeah, $20 an hour.
Wow.
Yeah, he's
really
he's done a ton of work here, and then like all this inside work that's just outlines right now. He did all that most recently. And I'm actually going to go see him again early next month to color all of that in. But
That's pretty amazing.
well, since he graduated, I'm only I'm still $60 an hour until he finishes this arm. So
Right. So
yeah,
I got on
what?
Amazon.
You went on Amazon? What?
Yeah, I got some in the red thing. So it's this thing where like if you don't want it to be baggy, you can like put it on the side and not make it baggy.
Oh.
And so really good. Like when I got it, I thought I was like, hey, what if it doesn't work? And I got it. Oh my god, this is crazy.
So I got something for you here, Richard, and this is a question. So I noticed your daughter's name, and I'm going to assume the pronunciation is Talia, right?
yep.
Is my mic not loud enough? I usually have like mic problems.
No, it's not bad. I actually was just making sure I was hearing you right, and I'm kind of deaf. That's my fault, not yours.
All right. No, because I asked because my stepdaughter's name is Talia, spelled the same but with an H at the end.
Yeah, I actually was going to ask you about that because I heard you say her name, and I was like, did he say that? What? Wow, that's cool. Yeah, that's a new coincidence. Hi, Talia.
This is Richard.
Hi.
Hi, nice to meet you.
It's pronounced Talia though, right? Because you don't have the H on there?
Correct.
Okay.
No, like what's the spelling?
The spelling is your name without the H.
Talia.
Yeah. Talia.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a common name.
Right. And then you put the H on it and it turns it into Talia.
Yeah. I don't really know.
It's weird how just one letter can change, the whole name.
Well, I'll tell you funny
Mhm.
story. When Talia was still an infant and in a stroller, or I might have had her in, a daddy pack,
Right, yeah,
and
yeah.
anyhow, I'm going along and there was a Hispanic lady and she goes, oh, she is beautiful. What is her name? And I said, oh, her name's Talia. And she says, oh, no, you mean Talia.
Yeah.
I was
Yep.
like,
And that,
I didn't
and
say no, I mean Talia. I know what I named my kid, but it was
Right.
funny that she corrected me. So
And that makes sense. I mean, her mom's Colombian, she's half Colombian, so.
no,
Hey, Jason.
my Talia, the translation of her name is actually blooming.
Okay.
Is that does that happen to be the same or something similar for
No,
Talia?
Jeez, lamb.
Hers means lamb.
I think. Wait,
Lamb.
yes.
She's gonna look it up.
Because every time I look at this, it's always gonna be like Talia. I'm like, no, I don't want Talia. I want Talia.
Google always tries to correct you. But anyways,
Ah.
Richard, it's kind of great we fell right into this conversation, but I just wanted to say, first off, it's awesome to have you here chatting. Don't actually see you around often, minus your videos and stuff. So I thought it'd be a good opportunity to just come on and chat and learn about you, because I've been watching your videos since we started.
Yeah. Wait, I'll also mean
Wow, I appreciate that.
the AI overview, but it looks like Hebrew.
It's Hebrew.
Yeah. Okay. The Hebrew name Talia means dew from God or God's dew. It's a variation of the name Talia and is often associated with the divine blessings of grace. It can also be considered as dew from heaven, similar to, I don't know, are we talking about like Hebrew or are we talking about just like maybe name meaning? Because if I look at this website, they're like,
I have no idea, but it may actually
the origin is Hebrew.
it might mean something different in Spanish too.
Meaning dew from God, near water, bloom, flourish, Christmas
I don't
day.
know.
Yeah, I think the Greek translation is blooming.
Gotcha.
Because I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think mine is Hebrew. You know, it also makes me
That's really
Mine-
cool.
way different.
Her name was gonna be Taliana. Her mom just chirped in from the kitchen.
Can I say something?
What's that? Why don't you get out of
Can-
the chair instead of standing there?
So, basically, when my mom and I were deciding what to name, so basically, we're like, oh, what name should we do? And my dad at the time, he really liked like Miss Universe. So, one of the Miss Universe Colombia.
Miss Colombia.
This co- okay, con Juan. She wasn't
Wow.
That's fine.
Just turning into story time.
I want to explain. Okay, the second one of Miss Universe, she her name was Taliana, and they were gonna name that, but in the hospital was like, oh no, that name's too long to get the one.
The name was too long. That's what
No,
the
not
hospital
too
said.
long. But like,
They were having a hard time
they were having a hard time to pronounce it and.
to put your name on.
To pronounce it,
So
that's
we
kinda
decided,
shady.
okay, it's gonna be Talia. But then again, people were kind of saying Talia instead of Talia. So her dad decided to put an H at the end to sound Talia instead of
Right.
Talia.
Mhm. That works.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, it's a beautiful name.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Oh, Chris Maybe's dropping by. Chris
Hi.
Maybe.
Hey, Chris.
I don't know if you get these out in Oregon, but this is something he sent me in the mail recently. You may have seen the post, but I always see these guys pulling up Caltrop.
I have found one of those.
You have found them?
Yeah, I have there's one video where actually when I was surprised when I found it. It was out in it was at Lake Sacagawea in Washington, which is about a half an hour drive from here. You know, I live in Oregon, but there's the Longview Bridge takes you right into Washington, and Lake Sacagawea was I discovered that I don't know, probably about a year after I started magnet fishing, and I was just stoked because I've had lots of good finds out of there. Yeah. So Caltrop, yep, I know exactly what that is.
Bye.
They're nasty little buggers, you know? I guess
Oh,
today
yeah.
they're taking off.
Yeah, almost as bad as a Lego if you're barefoot.
Exactly. So, Legos are just domesticated caltrops. Is that
That's
what they
pretty
are?
much that's my opinion. Yeah,
That's a pretty solid opinion. Cause
Yeah, so
I've never enjoyed stepping on one.
it was funny. I was going to ask you if you knew Sean, when you were saying you were out in Brockton, and
Right.
yeah, and then I was watching. I was doing a little crash course on your videos. I don't get to watch everybody's videos as much as I would like to, for sure.
Same.
I'm too busy most of the time, but yeah. And then I was going to ask you about that, but then at the very next video, sure enough, there's Sean. I was like, all right, so.
I met him a while ago because he had pulled up a bomb, and one of the local stations reached out to him and was like, "Hey, since you did that, there seems to just be a little attention on magnet fishing. We want to know what it's about. Can you invite some of your friends up and we'll bring a news crew?" And sure enough, like out of the blue, I had only talked to him a couple times online. He was like, "Hey, this opportunity has presented itself. Why don't you come up?" And so that was how I met him. And then while we were magnet fishing with that news crew, Josh from 508 pulled up a bazooka round, like live while the guy's sitting there filming. It was the craziest thing. But that was how I met Brockton. Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
it was pretty cool. And now we're all pretty tight. I mean, even Buddy came in here. I met Buddy that time, because Sean had called 508, Josh, Buddy, and myself to come up. So it was the four of us.
Yeah, and you
Yeah.
got to be on the news. Well, that had to help your
Absolutely.
channel. That's really cool.
It did help it a little bit, definitely. I didn't get as much of the press as everybody else. I was like the last video to go out, but we all got on that one when he was there. We all got on that one story, and it came out really, really good.
Say that again.
Just saying, the video came out really good. That's all.
Oh yeah, that's
The
awesome.
news story and stuff, yeah. But they're
Well,
all cool dudes now. So I've gone, ever since meeting all of them then, I've been magnet fishing with them all since, whether it's separately, all together, or whatever. They've all turned into like real life friends because we all live so close. They're not even an hour away.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually, I wish I could befriend more people. I don't know if you know who Scott Hicks is from Oregon Family Magnet Fishing.
Yep.
Did a collab with him a couple of times, and so we're friends. We don't hang out that much. And then Grandma Kelly, I got to do a couple of collabs with her. She traveled out here, and
That's awesome.
I'm hoping to meet her at Black Lake in Washington, possibly in the near future. But I just had hernia surgery, so I'm not magnet fishing at all,
Right.
which is unfortunate. I'm dying because the weather's beautiful now. It's nice and warm, and
Today was our
I'm
first nice
telling
day.
myself don't do it because they told me not to lift more than 20 pounds for like 6 weeks, which I still have 4 weeks to go, and yeah, I just got to be chill. So wrong time to get hernia surgery.
It's hard to slow down, not even just like the magnet fishing stuff, but having somebody tell you that you have to stop doing something.
Oh.
I didn't have a hernia or anything, serious like that, but I did like almost drop my ladder at work one day, and I kind of like twisted my shoulder, kind of trying to save it from falling.
Yeah,
And I was out for a few days, and I had it in a sling, and that was only like literally 4 days, and it drove me mad.
yeah, it's crazy. And even with magnet fishing, it's such a I almost always have a magnet, at least one magnet in my car. So,
Right.
because you never know, and I have my tripod and my gear, but because you never know when you're going to go past a spot that's going to present itself, or you just wind up with a little extra time, and so
There's always magnets in my car too.
yeah,
I gotta start doing it for work because I work for a cable company and I'm always out driving around. I should just keep a magnet in my van with me.
right, yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
If you might have to do some explaining though.
I know, yeah. That's the hard part is I wouldn't have to be able to videotape it. But
Hey,
Nick
there's
just
Nick.
popped in here.
What do you say,
is
Nick?
actually another guy, just like Brockton. Like I was lucky enough to meet Nick last year. There was like a global magnet fishing day thing
Yeah,
down in Florida, and we happened to be going to visit Carolina's family at the same exact time. So I was like, I might as well meet up with these guys since they're already doing a collab and just kind of crash it. And met Nick and Aaron from Magnetic Troll and Treasure Coast Magnet Fishing, Travis. He hasn't been around in a while, but he put it all together. And same thing with Brockton. Nick is now, you know, a friend. It's amazing how this community like connects with you with other people. You know what I mean?
Yep, sure do. In fact, it was really neat. There was, in fact, let me ask you this, because I haven't seen or heard of the guy for quite a while, and I don't remember his first name, but the Unfiltered Fisherman. Do you remember him?
I don't think
Well,
I do.
if I got my facts straight, so you know, I had a health issue a couple years back, and
Right.
it's kind of gone since September, but when it was early on and everybody knew I got a diagnosis, I believe it was the Unfiltered Fisherman put together a video and got a bunch of different magnet fishers to, you know, just saying hi and, you know, sending, you know, love and stuff like that. And Nick was one of them.
That's awesome.
And that was really cool. Yeah, great to see you too, Nick. He seems like he's out of commission now, the Unfiltered Fisherman, not Nick, obviously. But yeah, I'm kind of
I'm gonna have to
being
look
in
that up.
Oregon and married. And I'm not criticizing my wife at all. It's just my situation. If I was single, I'd be traveling all over the place, and you know, I'd love to get out to the UK and meet Magnet Mad Mom and Dad, and you know, the Peakies and Sonic and oh gosh, North Ants guys. But and you know, even on the East Coast, catch up with some of you guys. But it's out here in Oregon, there's nobody close that I can just call and, you know,
Right.
go drive for an hour. Although
Yeah.
I've met a few friends that magnet fish, and you know, we always go, yeah, we'll connect, and I'll call them and go, hey, I'm going out, and they're like, oh, I'm doing this, and you know, so.
What was he?
But
The Unfiltered
that's just the way it
Fisherman?
goes.
I'm trying to look up this guy. Was it Fisherman or Fisherman?
Uh,
Unfiltered.
the Unfiltered Fisherman.
Okay. Oh yeah, there we go.
It looks like he hadn't posted anything in quite a while.
I think he removed everything. There's no content on his page.
Huh? Yeah, that's
From
too bad.
Is he from Australia?
I feel like maybe so. Yeah, I can't say. It's been a while, you know, and well, that's one thing about the chemotherapy. It's affected my memory.
Yeah.
So I don't remember a lot of stuff. It's kind of crazy.
Right. That's unfortunate. But the good news is it's a small sacrifice to have your health back, you know, to bounce back from something like that. That's pretty big. So
Oh
you know,
yeah,
having a brain fart here and there, it's all right.
yeah. Well, I'm not gonna bust out a Bible or jump on a pulpit, but if it wasn't for
Yeah, yeah.
Jesus, I wouldn't be here. He was with me through the whole thing, and that's all I'll say. But yeah, it's it.
Yeah, and that's great.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You know, we all find comfort in something that's meaningful to us, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, you know, I feel great. Other than I've had to change my diet some. You know, I can't eat as much as I used to because they removed part of my stomach. But other than that, you know, I've got energy and you know everything. You know, my memory. But other than that, it's good. I wouldn't even say my memory is a disability. It's just, you know, it's a lot foggier than it used to be, which it wasn't great to begin with. So, and I think part of that just comes with getting older too.
There we go. See, maybe this would be something too. Yeah. They're talking about, and they're doing some get together thing in Wisconsin in June.
Yeah. The board and join us up there in June, huh? So where's Chris at?
Chris, maybe?
Yeah, what part of town? Or
I think he's around that area, Wisconsin and stuff.
cool.
I've sent him stuff before. It eludes me what state he is. That's the one thing about meeting everybody online. Sometimes it's hard to remember where the heck everybody's from.
Boy, it is. That's well, and I know a lot of people by the name of their channel, and you know, and
Right.
not their name specifically. But
Yeah.
so what got you into magnet fishing?
Honestly, hey Roger, what's happening, dude? I thought it would be a good way, believe it or not, here I am in front of a screen, but I thought it would be a good way of getting away from the screen,
Right.
you know, and getting outside and doing stuff. And it honestly started more as like a family channel. A lot of my kids would come, Talia would come a lot. My sons, so I've got two sons, and they've magnet fished with me too, but then it started to get cold and they didn't want to go out in the cold anymore. And I'm old and dumb enough that I'm like, I'll go out in the cold and do it too, you know? So
Oh yeah.
I
Like the
um,
postman, not rain, nor sleet, nor snow, nor dead of night or whatever. It's like, it's on, man. It's always on.
absolutely. Like we had some people traveled here to Massachusetts a couple weeks ago, and we were in Salem, and it rained the whole time. I was literally like soaking wet, like drenched, but it didn't matter. I mean, we pulled 700 pounds of metal out of that place that day, you know, and it was just about having fun and picking up all the junk that people throw in water for some reason.
Oh
You know?
yeah. Yeah, I've got a few videos that where it's pouring rain and I'm getting soaked and having the time of my life. And I
Yep.
think there's one or two where I'm trudging around. It's not actively snowing, but there's snow on the ground, you know, and my hands are
Right.
frozen and it's like, one more throw and I'm getting out of here. You know how that goes.
I do, because I've done that was what we did all winter long. This was probably the coldest winter in this area in a while. Like we haven't had much like for frozen density here. We'll freeze over it, but it's usually a couple inches, and you know, as soon as it warms up just a couple degrees, it's gone. But no, we were buried in ice this year, and
Well, and it gets,
I don't-
your lows are like really low out there, right?
like single digits. I mean, it's probably not too far off from you guys, but I think you're more like temperate for a longer period of time. We have a very long winter in the Northeast.
Well, it's still, as long as I've lived in Oregon, I think the coldest it's been is maybe the high 20s, you know,
Okay.
single digits, no way. That was when I lived in Flagstaff, that was a different story though. They had single digit winters. Winters in Flagstaff were pretty tough.
Flagstaff, Arizona.
Yep. Yeah, it's
Okay.
a 7,000 foot elevation. So it's the high desert. Everyone thinks, you know, oh, Arizona, and they automatically think desert, but the high desert, it not it doesn't it's not that far removed from the Pacific Northwest and how it looks. I mean, you got trees everywhere, you know, pine trees growing everywhere, and it's green, and
Right.
you know, they have 4 seasons, 4 distinct seasons, and much like here, summer didn't last long enough. So,
No, it never does here.
boy,
And
that's
that's where our tourism comes from, is summertime, because Cape Cod is basically just a
Oh.
resort, you know?
good night, Luis. Is it?
Yeah. Luis, it's yeah, talk detector. He's a good dude from down in Chile.
All right.
You probably
Te
seen
pegas,
him
pues,
around for a
noche.
long time.
Yep. Yeah. Actually, I'm subscribed to his channel. I just met him a couple weeks back.
Yeah. He's been around for a while. I actually had he doesn't speak English at all, but I had him on one of these live type of things too. But I had Carolina in it. So we had like a live translator, and
Oh,
it was
that's
actually it was a pretty cool chat, because you know, we had that translation in real time, you know, and we tried not to make it like super awkward. So it was like I'm just staring there awkwardly while she
right.
translates,
Yeah,
you know?
trying to draw pictures or showing objects, and
Someone just made some weird account name. It's probably one of Talia's friends. Oh no, it's Campion.
#1 fan. All right.
It's one of Talia's friends. It's their other name was Campion. That's what they were calling themselves before. So that's silly. But what got you into it, Richard? Because you've been doing it for a hot minute.
Oh yeah, I guess I'm trying to. I think I'm closing in on 5 years if I haven't already passed 5 years. But there was a big chunk taken out of that. But and you know, I'm not going to reiterate that over and over. But I actually my son Orion was 7 at the time, and much like now, since we just went and saw the Minecraft movie, he was playing Minecraft all the time, and he like begged me, Dad, watch these Minecraft videos with me on YouTube.
Right.
And so I was watching Minecraft videos, and I'd always see magnet fishing, you know, in the menu when you're typing in Minecraft, it gives you all these options that predictive things you think you're going to look at. And so I went, what is this magnet fishing? I got to see this. So I checked it out, and gosh, who's the guy that gets super excited? Outdoors Weekly. I don't know his name, but
Yeah.
you know, he
Right.
just goes crazy with every find. And I'm like, no offense to that guy because I'm him now. But I was
You're
like,
very excited.
this is like the lamest thing I've ever seen. What this guy's getting all excited over rusty crap. And now, I mean, that's me. And I actually was going to write it off, except my son Orion said, "Oh, Dad, we got to try that." And I was like, "Yeah, okay." And I went and bought a cheap magnet. I mean, you know, it might have been like 100-pound grip or something. It was just, you know, 40
Right.
bucks. And so we'd go find little hooks and things, and the bigger stuff would fall off. And he got bored with it real quick, but I was like, man, I need a bigger magnet. I got to do this, and got a bigger magnet. You know, my first one, I got something from a double-sided from Brute.
Yeah.
And you know, started getting big stuff, and I was just hooked after that. And ever since
That was
then,
where we started with the Brutes too.
I've got
the 575 single sided. That was what we started with.
yep, and I still have, you know, they're so neglected now, but yeah, I've got a couple single sideds. I've got, gosh, 4 or 5 double sideds. You know, I got their biggest clamp they had. I've got 4 bosses. And then I've got a dozen, you know, various size little magnets that I've found magnet fishing over
Right.
time.
Yeah,
So
I found a couple myself.
yeah, it's
And
always
that
fun.
lets me know.
I found a couple of bigger ones, but you know, gave them away. That's like there was this kid, I made his day one time. I found a nice double sided, and he was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's cool." And I was like, "Here, if you want it." He was like, "Seriously?" I was like, "Yeah, go ahead." So
I caught it with my other magnet. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
I
a lot of fun.
actually plan to put those the smaller ones to good use because Carolina has a very like small, tight knit community, friends that are all, you know, from Colombia and stuff here, and
Yeah.
they've got a bunch of kids that are interested in it because they've shown them my videos, and you know, they've actually like won stuff on some of my giveaways and stuff. And I'm going to take them out magnet fishing. I'm going to get a whole bunch of different colored poker chips and just put like numbers on them, and then give these kids a bunch of small magnets and see who collects the most points. And then there will be, I haven't figured it out yet what it's going to be, but you know, whoever ends up with the most point wins something, you know, whether it be
Sure.
a magnet or whatever. But you know, because these kids are really, really interested in it, but none of them can handle anything over a poker chip. You know what I mean?
Right.
They're not pulling up some of the junk that we're pulling up out of the water.
Oh, right. Yeah. I give it, well, man, I get a great core workout when I'm doing this stuff. And I didn't get a hernia magnet fishing, by the way, but yeah, it's I actually keep a couple of those smaller ones in my car because I'll tell you the neatest thing. Like one example is one time I was magnet fishing, and there was these 2 little guys sharing this dinky little magnet. And so you know, they came over and were curious about what I was doing, and I said, "So whose magnet is that?" And the one kid goes, "Oh, it's mine." I said, "Okay, you stay right here." And I went to my car and I got him another magnet that was essentially the same size. So
Right.
here you go, and you know, had the rope on it and everything, a little string on it and everything. He's like, "Really?" I was like, "Yeah." And then, you know, they ran off and they each had their own magnet, and it was
That's
neat,
awesome.
you know, just make a kid's day like that. So
Yeah,
pretty
that's
cool.
very kind of you.
You know, Cape Cod Manicures is the #1 fan.
Yeah, I know it's champion.
Yeah, it's my friend.
Yeah, I know it is.
Campeon, right?
He texted me saying, I wonder who's Cape Cod Manicures #1 fan.
Yeah.
I'm like, I like ran
Your
downstairs.
friends are spamming me.
Yeah, my friends love you.
Uh-oh.
Great. What happened?
Oh, I thought I X'd myself out, but I didn't.
No. Yeah, so I mean, have you found yourself getting into any of the other hobbies though? Do you do any metal detecting or anything like that?
You know, I barely have time, so no, I don't. But I'd like to. And as a matter of fact, my dad, who lives in California, mentioned that he's got a metal detector that he used twice, and it's been sitting in his closet for I don't know how many years. And I literally was just going, you know, I think I might hit him up for that thing, just
Right.
to
Well,
just to see.
that's basically what mine's been doing. You know, when I first got into this whole YouTube thing and started meeting people, I was like, I got ambitious, and I'm like, I'll get a metal detector because I'll just do that too.
Right.
And same thing. I've used it 3 times, and I haven't done anything with it. I don't have the time.
Yeah, I don't really either. You know, it'd be cool to have, but I don't think that I would. And it's no reflection on anybody that's done it. You know,
Right.
but I don't think that I would branch out so much into metal detecting. I love magnet fishing, and you know, I really enjoy it, and it's like I don't want to stretch myself too thin, and yeah, I don't know. It's so for me, I'm content magnet fishing. If I get a metal detector, I tell you, I definitely make some videos in my backyard. Um, Within the past 6 months, I actually there's this huge pile, or mound, I should say, and we know there's stuff buried in there because the history of our property was there was the original before this house was ever built on it, or our neighbor's house, which he grew up in this house. Someone else bought it from this. You know, he split his property when his mom got sick many years ago. But prior to either of these properties, there was his grandparents or great grandparents had some little tiny cottage off in the North 40 here. We have just over 3 acres, so I'm, you know,
Right.
North 40 is just a figure of speech. But there's a big mound where their little home was there, and my son Orion went out there and started digging, and he found an old pocket watch and an old what was left of an old hacksaw and like a lantern, and I mean just these really cool artifacts. And so I went out there and started digging with him, and you know, we found a few other things. And I did make a magnet mission episode recently, but so anyhow, if I get my hands on a metal detector, I doubt that I would go much further than my backyard over here because there's plenty for
It
that. But
sounds like there's gonna be plenty back there, though. You know, if there's that
yeah,
much history on the spot, I'm sure you could spend days just searching your own property.
yeah. So we might do that, but at the same time, I'm tempted to just get a bobcat because our goats, there's some metal sticking out of the ground in spots, and we have one goat that plays over there and constantly cuts his feet.
Right.
So, you know, I might just rent a bobcat and go over the whole thing and you know clear it out and level the ground. But part of me doesn't want to do that because if there's some cool artifacts in there, I don't want to lose them forever. You know.
You don't want to wreck them. Exactly. Yeah. So how long have you had goats?
Well, when we lived in Flagstaff, that was gosh, that was from 2004 till 2014, and we had just like a couple of goats the whole time there. We had property out there as well. So we had a couple of goats then, but then we moved to Oregon, and we lived in the city where you really couldn't have goats for about 6 years.
Okay.
So there was a big break, but currently we've lived here for almost 6 years, and we probably started with goats about 4 years ago.
Okay.
But we
No, are you? You just have them because you enjoy them, or are you getting like goat's milk or whatever from them? What do you?
no, we raise them. So actually, right now we actually have 11 kids. So
Wow.
we've got 6
chaos.
dolings and 5 bucks, 5 baby bucks. I forget what you call the little guys, but and then we've got 3 bucks that are adults, and then we've got 4 does. So we got close to 20 goats right now, which is way too many. But
20
yeah,
sounds like a lot.
everybody had twins, and then one had triplets. So it got crazy
Right.
real quick. And they were all bore them one right after the other pretty much. So, but we'll sell all of those, and we're actually going to downsize because we have we breed Springer Spaniels as well,
Okay.
and that's time consuming enough. And my wife does the majority of all the stuff with the animals. So, I'll run into town and buy feed, and I'll fix stuff if it's broke, and I'll help clean up the mess and stuff like that. But as far as the business end of it, she takes care of all of that, and it's keeping them healthy and doing the injections and all that stuff. So,
Yeah, but don't diminish what you do. Like you
Yeah.
still do your part.
yeah. So we're getting we're gonna sell off all these goats, and then just
Okay.
downsize. We'll probably keep 2, but not raise them anymore.
Right. I don't raise or do anything like that. I have just regular domestic animals. But recently I'm at a rescue. I really like Great Pyrenees. I've had them probably for the past 20 years. It's the only breed of dog that I'll get. I've connected with them. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I met this one last week, and then he came and did a home visit this past Saturday. Great dog. He's definitely skittish because he got out of a kind of hairy situation. But this week, while he was with the Fosters, he snuck out the back door. And he was supposed to come here on Saturday, because we had just made all the arrangements for me to take care of him, because he's 7 years old, so he's got between 5 or 7 more years. So I was just gonna make him comfortable and enjoy having him around. But he disappeared 3 days ago. They've seen sights of him, like last night, at like 5:30 p.m. Somebody saw him, but since then no one has seen any trace of him.
Well, if they, I guess the local animal control, maybe, are they on alert that it's your dog? Essentially. Oh, good.
Not my dog, but I mean the Fosters. They're very nice people and stuff like that. So they reach out to their local police. They've had Facebook has multiple different missing pets groups. So they've sent
Right.
out like a bunch of people. They've actually had tons and tons of people out there. He's just very crafty.
Yeah,
What's going on,
he's
Chopper?
not wanting to be found right now, huh?
He's not, and honestly, he had like 7 years that he was living with these people, and then they got pregnant and decided that it was going to be too much for him. So they basically were going to put him down until these people took him, and they happen to be like their cousins or something. It sounds like I don't know the whole story, but
Right.
regardless, they took the dog away and are holding it, and that's how they made a post to talk about rescuing it, and that's when I reached out. But I don't even know if he'll ever get here.
Yeah. Well, I hope there's a change and you hear some good news in the next day or two, even tonight. That would be fantastic.
It would be, he sees signs, one of the guys that's up there, and he says he's seen like some abandoned greenhouse that looks like it's got like a new rip in the screen door. So he thinks that he might be hiding out in there, but he doesn't want to spook him. So some of those rescue people or something, they've got like humane traps, and even though he's large, they've got large ones. So they're just going to put like food and some comfort items in a few of them and see if he takes a bait.
Yeah. Well, that would be great if we did. I have a very good friend actually that it was a bummer because he would always talk about these dogs he had, and I never got to meet them. And then he and his wife lived in Washington also, but hours away in Spokane, which is about, if you're driving, it's almost 8 hours. It's a quick flight. But anyhow, I got out there and I got to meet both the dogs, and they were older. And man, just a couple months after that, which was about 6 months ago, maybe 8 months ago, and then they had to put one down. And then 2 months later, they had to put the other one down. So that's the sad part. But speaking of Great Pyrenees, he actually, when they were ready to get another dog, of course, they were mourning the loss of the first. They didn't want to rush into it. But yeah, they just got a Great Pyrenees themselves. It's beautiful, mostly white.
Sounds like Blender might go on for a second, but
I'll message you a picture.
It's an unfortunate parallel, but I actually did have two recently also, and one passed, and almost similar to that story. 2 or 3 months later, the other one was done. You know what I mean?
Huh.
So it's been probably 6 or 8 months since I've had one of those dogs in the house. We still have Talia's dog. Talia has a small Jack Russell.
Ugh.
Um, and we do have a very like spiteful cat. She's nice when she wants to be, but most of the time she's not. So
Well, I can tell you, speaking of Jack Russells, I probably wouldn't be married to my wife if it wasn't for a Jack Russell.
oh really?
And the reason I say that is, I'll give you the short version, but we met in San Diego. I pretty much spent most of my life in San Diego, California. And I was at a park, and she came. It was in the college area near San Diego State. So here she comes walking this Jack Russell. She's cooling down from a jog, and I said, and it was the only time this line worked. But I said, "Hey, in case nobody told you, you're beautiful. In case nobody told you today, you're beautiful." And she goes, "Oh, thanks."
Right.
And I start talking to her, but I could see she's nervous, and so I said, "Well, my name's Rich, and if I said I'll be here tomorrow at the same time if you want to talk some more, And she said, "Oh,
Right.
okay, thanks," and she left. And so then I started to leave because I was hanging out with some buddies, and I'm like, "Where'd they go?" Because we were drinking beer and stuff. And so I get up to leave the park, and I'm like, "Dude, where are you guys going?" And they're like, "Go for it, man, go for it." And I'm like, okay. So I turn around and I'm like, "Well, what am I going to do now?"
Right.
I already used my best line. So anyways, I start walking towards the water fountain, which she happened to be walking towards from the other direction. And then when she got
Right.
close enough, I said, "So what's your dog's name?" Which was Abby, the Jack Russell.
Okay.
And so if Abby, was my in back into striking up a conversation again. Yeah, so if it hadn't been for Abby, we might not
There you
be
go.
together now.
That was your way in through the door. Hey, you got to
Yeah,
find a way to connect. It works.
yeah.
Yeah, I've always had these dogs for God the longest time, but having a Jack Russell, and so imagine like he's been here since I had my two dogs, and when
Uh-huh.
we would walk them, and I had my bigger one was about 120, and the smaller one was about 110 pounds, and then you see the two of them walking with a Jack Russell. It's pretty
Yeah,
comical.
yeah. It's like two elephants with a mouse.
Exactly. Yeah. Because these guys look like two polar bears with a tiny little something just walking beside them. But he's funny. He would zip right in and out of their feet and stuff like that without tripping them. It was almost symbiotic.
Huh.
It was very bizarre.
Yeah, they sounds
Yeah.
like they were connected pretty cool.
So
Yeah,
that's why I was kind of
how is the Jack Russell? Is he a little off center like most Jack Russells?
yes, he's very off center. And he's I think he might be part Chihuahua, or maybe it's a Jack Russell thing. You can tell me, but he shakes all the time, like
Hmm.
as if I beat him. And like I'm the kindest people to animals, but for some reason he thinks that like if I start talking to him, he starts shaking, and I'm like, what? Why are you shaking? Like
Huh.
I think it's
Maybe
a
it's
Jack
just
Russell thing, but I don't know.
yeah. I couldn't say either way. Maybe he's just excited. I know one of our dogs is Ralphie. He's one of our male Springer Spaniels. He goes crazy, and he's not shaking, but he's like wagging his tail so vigorously and just so excited. He's practically beside
Right,
himself, doesn't know what to do. And my wife calls it, "Oh, he's turning into a cashew," because what he'll do is he'll get up and he'll stand sideways against your legs. And when you rub the side that's away from you, he just curls into your hands, his tail and his muzzle, and he
right.
turns into a big
Turns into a
cashew
cashew.
shape. So
Hmm.
yeah, but it could just be that he's, so excited and doesn't know what to do with himself
Maybe that's
because
it.
he's
Maybe I got to look at it more as he's excited and not fearful.
yeah.
Because
If he's not, crying or trying to get away from you, that's my
yeah,
guess.
yeah, 'cause he does do that. Because if I'll take him outside to pee or whatever, and like I'll kind of like jump down on the ground with him. He'll lunge too, like, oh my God, you ready to play? And he'll start doing circles around the yard. And I'm like,
Oh.
dude, we're not doing that. I am not that fast.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys got a good thing going on, so I wouldn't worry too much about it.
No, I would like to get him a bigger buddy too, besides me enjoying having another Pyrenees around. I think he would like it because him and the cat bullies him. Like, when I say bully, I mean she is a literal bully. She'll stalk him through the house. If she doesn't like his attitude, she'll chase him upstairs. There was actually one day where I caught him eating the cat food, right? And I kind of like, I chased him out of the kitchen and she thought he was doing something to me. So she chased him upstairs.
Ah,
Yeah. And this is a cat. And our cat is probably 8 or 9 years old. So she's very skinny because she's, older and small.
right.
And yeah, she just chased him and he was scared.
Yeah, that always cracks me up when you see a cat putting a dog in its place instead of the other way around. I mean, traditionally you
Right.
think that cats are afraid of dogs, but that's not really the case. Not always.
She's not, she would even go after the bigger boys. But the thing is they are so fluffy that when she would actually connect with them, like if they would walk by her or something, she'd like try to smack them in their butts with her hand.
It was just
And
air.
they just turn back and look at her like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Like,
what's that all about?
did you just hit me? Like, what are we doing?
That's pretty funny.
It is funny. It's weird having animals. I trip out sometimes thinking about the fact that we have wild animals living inside of our houses with us, and like this weird, again, I'll use the word symbiotic, like a very symbiotic relationship. We learn to live with them, they learn to live with us.
Right.
It's strange. I think about that dynamic a lot.
Well, it's funny too. When I first met my wife, she got this little dachshund. Her name was Jenna, and we've been together for 32 years. So, Jenna's
Wow.
long gone, but she was on spring break from college, and so she was down in San Diego, and she was staying at her parents' house, and she got this puppy, Jenna, and I was like, it was shortly after we met, but we got engaged, a few weeks after we met. So she got this dog, and I was like, well, it would have been cool if you would have asked me if I wanted a dog. But, I was like, oh, well, whatever. But she would sleep with the dog in the bed, and I always thought it was weird I always thought it was strange that people slept with their dogs. But I'm telling you now, it's not, because I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
But it's
It
funny,
happens.
sometimes Tina, she'll come to bed, and my first question is, hey, where's Freya? The dog that usually sleeps in the bed with us. Like, aren't we missing something here?
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Funny thing.
it's neat. They're family members, all of them. Gosh, I'll tell you a scary story that just happened the other day. So Freya, the one of our springers that I just mentioned, she's had 3 litters of puppies in the past 5 years.
Okay.
And so from her first litter was Jeremy. Well, Jeremy, he didn't get enough oxygen or something. There's something wrong with him. He's a special needs dog. And he probably would have died if it wasn't for my daughter, Chloe, who didn't want him to die. And I mean, she stayed up and, tended to him and kept him alive. I mean, like superhuman effort. So props to her. And so he has to wear a diaper, and he's not trainable, but he's very docile. He's not bad at all. But even he has like a lazy eye or a wandering eye, the kind of, they look in 2 different directions.
Right.
And one of his unique traits is you'll never see him make a right turn except if he's jumped up on the couch and he wants to get comfortable. But when he's on the ground, he will go in continuous left turn circles for the longest time. It's crazy. So this happened just a couple of days ago. We've got these lace curtains in our dining room area.
Right.
Well, I was in the bedroom, watching TV or playing guitar or whatever it was. and I hear my dogs going crazy. And I'm thinking, well, who's here? Because they never bark like that unless, some stranger showed up or, the male person's not a stranger, but they always bark at them. So
Right.
anyhow, I'm like, well, let me go check this out. And I stop what I'm doing. I go out there and they're barking at like the dining room table. I'm like, what the, maybe there's a mouse or something. And so I get over there and they stop barking and I look at Jeremy and he's just standing there and he's staring at me. And I'm like, dude, come here, buddy. What are you tripping out on? And that's when I noticed the curtain. He had somehow gotten the curtain around his neck
Okay.
and doing his left turns, he
Right.
wound that thing up like,
Oh, and you can get off.
you remember
Yeah.
those old, those balsa wood airplanes with the propellers and you could wind it and the rubber band would wind up. And then if you kept winding it, it would get into knots and stuff.
Yep.
He had wound up that curtain like that. And it was about to choke him to death, but luckily there was still some room there. So he wasn't suffocating, but he was close. And so I had to just cut the curtain, but saved him, And so I'm not going, oh, look at me, I saved my dog. But it was
But that's still a
amazing
crazy story.
that the other dogs knew something was wrong and they were barking to get my attention,
Right.
So yeah, and I went out there and he knew he was in trouble because he was standing still. He was like, he knew I better not turn in any more circles, and the look on his face, I'll never forget it. So, but yeah, that was a close one because I was just thinking, what if nobody was home? What would have happened, So anyhow.
Does he have a condition that makes him circle that way?
Well, I think just, brain damage. He really, there's something wrong with him. We call him our special needs dog, but it's just something he does. It's he'll sit there and he'll walk in circles, not constantly, but when he's in circle mode, it's left turn circles all the time. You can't get him to go the other direction. It's the most bizarre thing.
No idea.
We should have
what this
changed
is.
his name to Lefty.
Yeah, it's very strange that he goes to the left like that. Hang on one second here. So I actually had growing up, my second dog ever was a Springer. We had a Springer named Zeke. And he was one of my favorite dogs growing up as a kid. We only had two. After that, my family was like, "Nope, we're doing cats. We're not doing dogs anymore." But yeah, Zeke was cool. He had a lot of energy. Springers have a ton of energy, or at least he did.
Yeah, no, they get to it, especially they're Velcro dogs, meaning they're attached to my wife.
Right.
They go crazy. When she comes home, and if I don't hear her car, I know she's home because they're all just making this racket and jumping up and down and just going. They don't do that when I come home, but I'm not jealous. But they will follow her throughout the house, and it's so funny because if they come in here and jump on the bed, then I know she's on her way into the room because they get ahead to meet her.
Yeah, right. It's a competition so you can get into the bedroom first.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because when I'm going to come in and I even talk to him and I'll go, you don't love me. You're just here because mom's coming. Don't give me that crap, Yeah. But yeah,
So,
I love them. They're great animals.
So you've been married for a really long time. Have you been doing the X-ray tech thing for a long time?
Yeah, actually, I've been an X-ray tech since 2004.
Okay.
And then so add to that 2 years of school because I started taking X-rays almost immediately when I began the radiology program in San Diego.
Right.
Yeah, I spent the first 10 years of my career in Flagstaff, Arizona, and then moved out here to Oregon. I've worked in Portland, which is almost an hour from my house, so I have a pretty long back and forth commute, but it's worth it because my coworkers, everybody that I work with, they're like family, really are. And I've never been treated better at a job. My bosses are just fantastic people, and
Right.
yeah, I can't say enough good things about the people I work with. So
another gentleman that usually hangs out in the channel too. It says he was an X-ray tech too, CT and MRI school. I actually have to go get an MRI on that shoulder I was telling you about. That
Oh,
MRI reminds me about it. Yeah,
yeah.
I just want to make sure it's all right. Like, now that I've hit 50 years old, I'm like starting to, the way I've dealt with my healthcare now, I've changed everything, like, because I know things are going to start falling apart. The wheels are coming off. Not,
Yeah.
not, not, not completely, but things are going to be different than it was at 40 and 30,
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Getting older is fun. That's the how I put it. I always thought it would be cool if the older we got, the less problems we had because we've survived and got through so much. But it's quite the opposite, unfortunately. So, but I
no,
still got no complaints. I mean, it can always be worse. That's one thing I learned in healthcare. Even, having pancreatic cancer, I've seen people not, they weren't as fortunate as I was. Like I said, I'm
right,
I'm in remission, and
which is amazing. Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, and even when I had the hernia surgery, the doctor said, he goes, "You had a Whipple procedure, huh?" I said, "Yeah," which that's the surgery they did to remove the cancer, and they took out a bunch of stuff and like reconfigured my digestive system.
Of
Um,
course.
but he said, "You do not look like a guy that's had a Whipple procedure." And I'm not bragging about it, I took it as a compliment. I said, "Yeah, I was pretty lucky." So, because a
Right.
lot of Whipple patients, they look like they're on death's door, and they don't have long. But yeah, I was very fortunate. So anyhow, yeah, hello, fellow imaging professional out there.
Yeah, yeah, I've actually been dealing with not myself with a health issue, but something new. Um, my mom is 71, which again isn't super old, but she's taken really horrible care of herself
Yeah.
for many years. Like when we lost my dad, probably like 15 years ago,
Hmm.
she just kind of like you could see there was just something went,
Oh yeah.
because they were together for a really long time. And she had a stroke recently, and she's physically like perfect. We could go hike a trail and she'll walk. But what that stroke did to her brain has definitely changed my mother. Like the person she was just a couple months ago is
Right.
night and day different.
Yeah,
Um,
she kind of scrambled. I don't say that as
right.
an insult. My same thing's going on with my father-in-law. Very
Right.
similar story. Well, he's 90.
Which has got me looking at, and this is going back to the whole turning 50 thing. It's had me looking more at my mortality, because 20 years isn't too far away, and she's 71 having these things happening to her. And so it's got me, like you said, you had to change your diet. I'm thinking, what do I got to do to prolong a healthier life, so I don't have to worry about strokes. But she smoked cigarettes religiously, like every day. And that's a big part of her problem,
Yeah, that's huge.
and then just bad diet. I mean, we grew up Gen X, I was raised on,
Sour
bacon with
Patch Kids and
mayonnaise
nachos.
on bacon on Wonder Bread with mayonnaise, you know what I mean? Like heart attack sandwiches. That was
Oh yeah, but they're so good.
They are so good. And spam, we grew up eating that type of stuff. It was so salty and nasty, but you liked it.
Yeah.
But that's literally nearly killed her, and like luckily my brother that day had an issue with his bank because she lives in a tiny house on his property. And he had an issue depositing a payroll check, and he went back home and because he was frustrated, and he was like, "Oh, I'm just going to go check on mom, see what she's up to." And that's when he walked in and she's like, "I need help." And those are not 3 words that she has ever uttered in her life,
Yeah.
you know?
Uh,
And yeah, it changed everything. But yeah, she's slowly turning away out of it a little bit, but she's getting dates confused. That's her biggest thing is she's constantly focusing on time and like, where is everybody? You told me you were going to be here an hour ago. Like, mom, today's Monday. I told you I was going to be there Wednesday. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
that's where it seems to really have affected her because like passwords, PIN codes to like her banking stuff, that's still all that it's all there. but just little parts of her memory are gone.
Yeah, just gone. Well, yeah, similarly, Tina's dad, we check on him regularly, and like I'll come by to give him his 5 o'clock medicine or something, and I've been there twice or three times earlier. He's like, "Where you been all day?" It's like, "What are you talking about? I was here, 3 hours ago." It's like, "No, you weren't." And I have to convince him, "Yeah, I was. Remember we did this and then we talked about that." And they'll go, "Oh yeah, that's right." But
Right.
yes, similar, some of that can be attributed to just old age. I mean, 90 years is a long time, but yeah, that stroke, he actually had 2 strokes in San Diego, wound up selling his property and then building a small house on our property so we could be close to him, take care of him. And, well, yeah, he's,
That's a great idea.
he's starting to have a more serious, mental decline as well as physical. Some stuff's going on. In fact, my wife's at the cardiologist with him right now because he's got some labs that are pointing to end stage heart failure. So and it's taking its toll on my wife. She worries about stuff enough, but now essentially watching her dad getting ready to die is just like got her beside herself. So it's fortunate that I'm off of work right now so I can be here for her, instead of her just having to cope all day. I mean,
it's still tough, though, it's still tough,
but yeah. So my heart goes out to you, man. What's your mom's name?
Stephanie.
Stephanie. Okay. Well,
yeah,
she'll be on the prayer list along with you.
That.
Yeah, you bet.
Appreciate that.
Sure thing.
What was I gonna say? So, tattooed, you're very creative. I mean, one of my favorite topics to talk about is music.
Oh yeah.
You seem like you probably have a very eclectic taste in music. So what are you into? And what?
Well, you would be surprised. I actually, I don't own too many albums now, and it's funny. What's the thing? Spotify.
Yeah.
I might have a Spotify account. I love classic rock is my favorite.
Okay.
And then anything from when I was a kid that reminds me of my childhood. So even today, like I was listening to Marty Robbins while I was taking my father-in-law to a different appointment. But yeah, I can enjoy anything, even hip hop, as long as it's not too vulgar. But yeah, I'm a serious, I was a serious metalhead. I don't listen to much of the new metal, but yeah, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and early 2000s metal. In fact, I used to have a band called Cyanide back when I lived in San Diego in the late 80s and early 90s. We were never big, we played some clubs and lots of parties, and but we did mostly original music. And we're actually writing music remotely, even now, writing and recording.
Cool.
Yeah, we've got 10 songs that are almost all complete, and then we've got 6 more that we're working on, just to do an album for ourselves, because we never did when we were younger. So it's just fun.
That's still awesome, yeah.
But yeah, I usually like higher energy stuff, death metal and all that stuff where you can't even understand what they're saying. I don't really care for so much. But even with like rap, subject matter kind of bugs me sometimes. But I appreciate the ingenuity and the what do you call it? That when they just these wide reaches lyrically that they do to make comparisons, like.
It's very creative, yeah, but I get what you're saying. Like some of just the vibes don't quite check out, like
right.
Yeah.
But the when you got the rhythm of a lyrical melody, underneath it, or musically, some of it's pretty cool. But yeah, I really appreciate stuff that's thought out and not just thrown together. And that's actually where I clash with members of my own band sometimes, because they're like, "Dude, what's wrong with it?" And I'm like, "It's cool, it's fine, but it could be cooler and finer if we did this,
Right.
you know,
Look at us fight.
anybody can do that. I mean, let's step it up, change the tempo here, you know, come up with some lyrics that don't sound like a fourth
Right.
grader wrote. But anyhow, I don't say it like that, but
This may not be your vibe completely, because I don't know if the imagery will bug you at all, or subject matter, but I really like a band called Sleep Token.
sleep
And
token,
Sleep Token, yes.
like sleeping and bus token.
Yeah,
Okay,
they're
Sleep
actually
Token.
this very strange band. They dress up. They're actually, some people call them like Kiss 2.0, because they've got this whole dress up stick to them.
Persona.
Yeah, and they've built this whole story actually behind them where they like worship this being called sleep. I don't know. It's a very theatrical thing, is how I take it. You know what I mean? And
Right.
it's very creative, but if you just saw the band, you wouldn't give them a shot. But if you listen to them, there's very calm parts, and they literally build up until a very heavy metal type of crescendo. But the dude is talented. I mean, he can actually like sing. He can, not necessarily rap, but he can rhyme. Their beats, while most of, one of their songs recently was written in 4/4, but it's got like this syncophonic sound to it. So even like it sounds like you're hearing a 3, but it's a 4, and then you'll hear in a 5, and syncopation all over the place.
Yeah, yeah.
It is like poetry. Even Talia just says it. His lyrics are on point. He just wrote this song called Caramel, and it's actually about obsessive fans that are trying to ruin his anonymity because he's trying to remain anonymous behind the mask. They really are taking this pretty far, I guess.
Huh.
But they wrote a song specifically about it, and they called it Caramel because it's sticky and gross, and it kind of doesn't really get off you a little bit.
Huh.
And he even has a line that the stage is a prison to him at times, because he feels like people are so worried about who he is that they're not paying attention to what he's giving them with
Right.
the music.
Well, and it's interesting you say that. You know who Tobias Forge is? Ghost.
Yeah. We listen to Ghost. Talia has a
Yeah,
Ghost
I was
song.
just reading an article with him. I think it was Tobias Forge. Where actually, that the fans have to put their phones in magnetically sealed bags and can't use them while the concert's happening because he wants them to be fully immersed in the performance.
Yeah.
And I've heard, gosh, so many artists say the same thing. It's like, they're out here with their phones and that's cool and everything, but it's, they're missing out on the I'm giving you energy and you're giving me energy back thing.
Right.
It doesn't happen when you're wrapped up in your phone because you want to, show everybody a clip of the band you saw. So
We saw Ghost last year, and we're seeing them on this tour without the phones. I don't even know if we'll bring them. I might just leave them in my car, at that point. But
yeah, Sleep Token, huh? I'll check it out.
What do you got to say, Talia? Talia's going to give you some obsessive Ghost news.
Okay, no, but I will tell you that Phil and Lion have been sharing some clips in the client. A lot of people, they're like, oh, like this, what happens if people like, oh no, it's fine. Like we don't want to have the things. Like we want to clip it. But other people are saying like, yes, but like I think it's more like be in the moment. You know what I mean? Like
That's what we're talking about.
yeah, and
Yep.
also, from my opinion, I think it's like I see people like getting clips from it, and I feel like that's like you're not like you
You're not getting the point,
like
yeah.
you're not like respecting the band's decisions. Like I feel like
There was a concert that
Pushing
Ghost
it.
just recently did, just to kind of test
and
out
there's clips of it,
um,
and I think it's
like their
crazy.
new outfits and stuff like that, and their new set lists and whatever. So they played a show in London, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so people
London.
did put their phones up or whatever, and kind of, a lot of people are giving them flack for it because they're like, you were told to leave your phone away just so you didn't, you could pay attention.
Like I started was saying like, oh how do they like why do they do this? I don't know, that was like a lot of older people. But like this is
Very
happening like saying, oh well, like you want to be in the moment. Like I understand, so he had very he had too much sometimes, and I definitely agree. I also think being disrespectful to the band because you should like
You should
paid
enjoy
for
the
tickets,
artistry.
you saw the
Yeah,
rules,
I mean, especially
you
these
signed
tickets.
up for this, and now you want to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially these tickets because they're even bigger than they were last year. these tickets are almost double what they cost us last time, just to see him
Oh.
again, because she's obsessed with them.
It is crazy how much they cost, but high five right there.
Yep. Speaking of which, speaking of high fives and stuff like that, it's actually getting close to 9. You saw Shane pop on there from Ohio River. He usually starts a live at about 9 o'clock.
Oh, cool.
Because actually, going back to the whole Sean thing, this actually used to be his slot for lives on Thursdays. And when
Oh.
I decided I wanted to start doing one, he was like, you know what? I actually was thinking about backing away. So, yeah, and Ohio River has always been right after Sean's show, and that's stayed the same. So, but Richard, it was absolutely awesome. I'd love to have you come back again sometime. You know, whenever you got some time, maybe we'll get a few people up here, get a good thing going. Maybe I'll pull
Yeah.
Sean in.
Maybe we'll talk about magnet fishing even.
You know,
But no,
yeah,
great to meet you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, dude. I really, really appreciate it, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, I hope that puppy turns up for you.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
All right, take care, brother. I'll see you around.
Talk to you all later.
Bye.